Welcome to episode 211, Peru Insights and Releasing Attachment. Welcome to the Be That 1% podcast. I'm your host, James Silvis, mindset specialist and performance coach. And here on the show, I'm going to challenge you to think deeper, commit to greatness, and develop a stronger mindset. You'll hear stories from those who are living life on their terms, and you'll receive strategies that will help you level up. So the question is, are you ready to be your own 1%? Let's get started. All right, everybody, welcome back to season 5 of the Be That 1% podcast. Man, it has been a journey, a huge learning curve of, figuring out how does all podcast thing works. My amazing, talented wife being the key driving force as to why this is a thing. And just expressing so much gratitude for all of you who continue to be a part of this community. And all of my support staff, my wife, my, the people that I work with on my team, the consultants that I hire to get this out to you. It's a process, and it's been really fun, and it's also a way for me to document my life. Like 5 years ago, listening to those episodes, I can go back and I can step into the stories that I was telling and the content that I was sharing. And now, being a father and being in a different place in my business and just the relationship that I have with Amanda and all of my other friends and family and clients, it's just all, different. So it's cool to be able to talk through that live and to have that documented. So maybe one day Aiden can listen back and say, hey, that's my dad. So today, this is the first episode of season 5. And a lot has happened in the last couple months. So right now it's early January, and I have, for the last 3 years, minus 2020, I've gone to Peru every December to one time as an attendee and 2 times as a facilitator for, Warrior Retreats, which is a phenomenal leadership transformative experience. 2 weeks over 4 different containers, 4 different places in Peru, starting in the jungles, no service, which I'll talk about, then going to Cusco, 11,000 plus elevation, to Machu Picchu, one of the most sacred sites in the world, and also finishing in Sacred Valley, Peru. So I figured, this first episode, 1, just easing back into things, and 2, just talking about what I learned there. And, I'll sprinkle in some dad lessons here and there, but mostly just how this trip was the best yet. I've been to these places 2 times before, but I'm a big believer that the same person going to the same place, you're going to change. You're going to see different things. So this go around was pretty intense from the get-go. My intention for this trip was to release myself of attachment to identity, who I am, who I think I need to be, attachment to material things. How much money do I have? What kind of car do I drive? What kind of clothes do I wear? And also the attachment of how things I think need to go. How many times have we got in our own way by trying to force things? No, I have to go this way. My day has to go this way. It has to start this way. This is not supposed to happen to me, right? We have these ideas of how life unfolds, and then life always has another plan. And it isn't until later that if we have the time and we take the time to reflect, we actually see that life was happening for us, not to us. But a lot of times it feels like life is happening to us. So I just wanted to release that from me, my own psyche, right? And in Iquitos, which is where you have to fly into to take a boat ride into the Amazon, that was my intention. So we sat around dinner the first night and we all had to go around and share those intentions, and that was mine. So we drive into the beautiful lodge cabin in literally smack dab in the Amazon jungle. There was a bed of lily pads that were coating the water. It looked like grass, like jungle grass. And we float up to our stay, and it's eerily feels like home, even though it's it's so different. The toilets are different, the water is different, you're eating from the lands, like everything is made from scratch. You're eating off of from fire, right? They're making a fire, and that's how they cook their food in these big pots and pans. And it's just a different way of life. And the first thing we do when we arrive there, the shamans and the indigenous tribes will always welcome us. They also have us do Palo Santo baths, which is basically like a piece of wood, a sacred piece of wood. You light it and it smokes. And that smoke is supposed to be cleansing. It's supposed to lift negative energy, clear the space. And so we take a quote-unquote bath in that one at a time. After that bath, a shaman will, say our prayer over us, douse us with some rose water, which is another form of cleansing. And it's really just stripping away all of the city and all of the maybe baggage that we were carrying from where we traveled from. And if we're going to be in the jungles, it's important to immerse yourself in jungle life, part of which is, creating a ceremonial aspect to make that transition. So we did that, and that was the first time that we had done that. We hadn't done that in the last 2 times, so that was new, and that was really cool, and I love that. It made me want to do that with my house. It's like, who do you invite over to your house? Is your house is it a sacred place? Do you allow high vibration only to enter those doors, your front door? Your home is where you spend most of your time, and so if we don't think about our homes as sacred places where we can recuperate, rejuvenate, reflect, then that's an opportunity for us to start thinking that way. Now, COVID and quarantine makes that a bit more challenging because now work is being done in the house and other things are being done in the house, and we don't leave the house. So it's kind of like, it can kind of get blurred, but pausing and creating intentional spaces within the home can be equally as effective. So that was kind of like when we first got there. We hang out, connect, no phones, so it's all just conversation, meeting everybody in the group. There were 24 of us that went down there, 6 facilitators. So we were just having a good time. The next day, I wake up, and my stomach's a little off. I'm like, okay, that's weird. And this is the day that we do plant medicine. We do ayahuasca. And the cool thing about that is we make it from scratch. So we go out in the jungle, we cut the vines ourselves, we take the leaves, and we intentionally tear apart those roots, put it in a big pot, and it cooks, so to speak, for 8 to 10 hours over a fire. But we have to start early because by the time it gets 8, 9 p.m., that's when we do ceremony. So, ayahuasca is not for everybody, and this is not a suggestion to do it. You have to feel called to do it, and then you do your own research, and you hopefully choose your shaman carefully, and you do the work. And so I'm all about doing it that day, right? But my stomach's a little off, and we're in the jungle, and like it's progressively getting worse. And I'm like, man, what is going on? And I'm a leader, right? So I'm trying to of the team, I'm like a facilitator. So I want to make sure that I'm there for people and being present, answering questions, just holding space, all that. But I'm struggling. Like I'm having to go down on one knee, and it's just, what's going on? And so we're making the ayahuasca, we're tearing apart the vines. I make sure that I at least get one done because, it's important to put your own personal intention along with everyone's collective intention into the leaves and into the roots so that, when you drink the medicine, you're in there. And also, side note, what's cool about ayahuasca is that how it's made is it's the copy root and the, I'm drawing a blank on the first part of the name, but it's like the viridis leaf. And you combine that root with that leaf, and that's what creates the medicine. And there's 80,000 plus plants in the Amazon jungle. Like, it's one of the most biodiverse places on the planet. Yet 2 of those 80,000 different plant species combine to make ayahuasca. That is phenomenal. High odds of never figuring that out unless, theory can be the gods guided human to find it. But it's just fascinating being in the jungle and understanding like how they know what the plants do. They will diet on one plant for 90 days. 90 days. They'll eat bland foods, like just enough to sustain life outside of the plant, but they'll drink it 3 times, 4 times a day for 10, 14, 30 days, however long they need until they understand what that plant does inside their body. And then you compound that over generations, you just start knowing what plant is what and what it does and what ailments you're feeling and where you need to go and what you need to drink. It's incredible. And so it's a different lifestyle. The shamans communicate telepathically. I know it sounds like sci-fi, but this is how they do it. Like, they'll communicate throughout the jungle through thought. And, they say, oh man, I need someone to bring me this. And within a few hours, someone brings it. Like, I got your message. It's like, what? Wow. Okay. Yeah. There are things that we don't know, and you don't know them until you put yourself in the environment. So I was feeling sick that day, and around 11, 12, I had to go lay down. I couldn't physically move. Like, I was just like, oh, I'm sweating. I'm weak. Diarrhea everywhere. Can't hold anything down. I'm taking, vitamin A, charcoal, all these things, and that's just running through me. And I am hot. I'm uncomfortable. And it just keeps getting worse. And I'm like, am I going to die in the jungles? Am I going to have to be helicoptered out of here? Am I going to have to go to the hospital? I got to get back home to Amanda and Aiden. Like, these are my thoughts while I'm in the jungle, no service. And so that goes on for a few hours. The staff checks on me. I'm fine enough to hope it breaks, but it's not the fever, but just the sickness breaks somehow. But I'm struggling. And, it's around the time in the afternoon where you get to talk to the shaman one-on-one and tell them about your intentions. Tell them about what you want your experience to be, and maybe ask any questions about how you're feeling or what's coming up or whatever. So I muster enough energy to go talk to the shaman. I'm like, hey, my stomach is hurting. What's happening? And they're like, oh, you must have drank some water, or you must have got some sort of infection. They're like, we'll make you a drink. I'm like, okay. So they go and find some maru, and they make me a tea. I try to drink it. I literally took 5 sips. And when you drink something and it evaporates all the moisture out of your mouth, that's what drinking this was like. And I'm like, oh no, I can't do that. For whatever reason, I got worse from that, whether that's a psychological thing or if it was actually that root or a plant not fitting with my system. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to do ceremony tonight. This is frustrating. This is not how I saw this trip going. Remember my intention of letting go of attachment. This was lesson 1. So it's about 5:30, and Brandon brings a shaman in, and he starts working on me. Starts doing an ikoros. And an ikoros is, a song basically that they get from the dieta, from dieting with the plants for extended periods of time. That tree will gift the person dieting on those plants a song, so that when they hum that song, like a that the energy of the plant can enter the space and clean the space, transform the space, whatever that plant is known for doing. So he's shouting ikoroses over me while waving his palm leaf. He does that for 5 minutes. And as he's doing that, I feel energy moving in my body. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I'd say about 5% better. So something is moving, right? And then the 5 minutes is up. He says a blessing over me, pours more rose water over, and, I go back into the room. 10 minutes later, one of the support staff, his name's Wolf, shout out to you, even though maybe you'll never listen to this, know that you're in my heart and my prayers every day, brother. He's like, I'm going to make you a brew. I'm like, Wolf, I already drank something, man. It didn't work. He's like, my friend, trust the plants. I'm like, I know, I get it. Like, you know, trust the plants. Like, I understand, but I tried it last time, and if I have any hope of doing ceremony tonight, I just want to like try and beat this natural, you know, like natural. Like, he's like, bro, there's nothing more natural than plants. But like, you know, that's how I was feeling. I had tried it once and it didn't work, so I didn't want to try it again and make things worse. Because I was starting to feel a little bit better, so that gave me some hope. And he's like, I'm gonna go make it. So he goes and makes it. And I'm like, all right, well, he's going to come back. I'm just going to tell him that I'm not drinking it. He comes back in and he goes, drink. And I go, no, Wolf, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, my friend, trust the plants. I'm like, I know, but he just senses my frustration. He goes, let me tell you a story. I remember there was a husband and wife in your position. He was throwing up blood, pooping blood. And the wife said, call a helicopter. And I made this brew for him. I gave him this tea. And he drank it. And he healed. Drink the tea. And I go, oh, my friend, trust the plants. And he points his hand out to the jungles with all the sounds back there. And he goes, this is a pharmacy. A pharmacy. Trust the plants. And he like shoves the mug in my hands. And he stands there like waiting until I'm going to finish it. And I'm like, here goes nothing. So I drink it. I took one sip and I'm like, all right, this tastes better than the other one. And I'm like, all right, let me just finish this. It takes about 3 minutes. And he's like, good. And then he has me lay down. He rubs menthol over my chest, my stomach, my forehead. He rubs this garlic-like herb in my hair, and he takes peeled lemons cut in circles and places 6 all over my forehead. And he ties a towel around it so that it's squeezing the lemon juice into my hair, onto my head. I kid you not. From the time I took that drink to about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes max, I'm like 85% better. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like, I was on quote unquote my deathbed, and now I'm like ready to laugh, run, play, work out. Like, what just happened? And that was a moment to surrender, to trust, right? And also the power of nature, that nature equips us with everything we need. And I'm not, downplaying Western medicine, because if I'm in surgery and I need to clean an area, or if I'm in pain and I need some painkillers, like, or whatever it is I need to help me survive, you better believe I'm going to take some Western medicine, right? But also, there is another form that we can familiarize ourselves with and lean into more, and that's obviously the homeopathic way, where we root back to nature. We all come from nature, and it all makes sense that each thing that was created is a part of us in some way, and so we can ingest that, eat that, drink that to nurse us back to health. And that's literally what happened. From there, I went into ceremony that night, which was an incredible, miraculous turnaround. I had a very potent ceremony where I, was able to have conversations with myself, see things that I needed to see, and ultimately level up as a father, as a business leader, as a human, and even have my energy become more precise, right? And that was potent. But the lesson there was, one, surrender, that things won't always go your way. In fact, they most likely will never go your way. And it's not about forcing it. It's about adapting, pivoting, adjusting, being flexible. So that was day 2. that was a really, really potent lesson. And then from there, we were there for 4 days, and then we went to Cusco, 11,000 feet elevation. And when you're in that high of an elevation, it forces you to slow down. Like, you're out of breath walking up 3 stairs. You're out of breath when you get off the plane, really. And so being in that high of elevation, if you move too fast, you tire yourself out. Right? And so what a powerful metaphor for the importance of slowing down, being intentional, laying 1 brick at a time, not laying 5 as at once, right? And so being that we came from such a primal place of the jungle, no service, eating off the lands, drinking the lands, to now going into more city life in downtown Cusco, but also like not moving too quick, and really appreciating all that it is, and the contrast that we just went through from pure jungle to now city. Drastic change. You can't just hop into that. You got to like slowly ease into it, right? So the trip is beautifully crafted from so many different levels, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And this was just another lesson of slow down. Slow down. Micro slow, macro fast. So many people want to get rich quick. They want to learn things as fast as they can. And I get that. But when you go fast, you skip steps. And when you skip steps, you don't develop mastery. And when you don't develop mastery, you can't change the game because you don't know the game. So pause, be intentional. Let every piece, every movement, every step be with meaning, precision, destination, purpose. And when you create like that, everything you create becomes indestructible, becomes unshakable, because it's created from an unshakable place that can only come from you and the inner work that you do. So we stay in Cusco for 3 or 4 days. We visit Rainbow Mountain, which is 17,000 feet elevation. And this is typically in Cusco where, like, your gut biome is starting to change. And, you can get upset stomachs. Obviously, the elevation can give you headaches. And so you have to navigate all of that while trying to be present. So yet another challenge to another lesson that you can learn in these situations is, like, even though you're feeling that, can you still be present? While we're in Cusco, we also have one of the biggest charity days that we do in all of Warrior, where it's a full day of service, visiting 3 different shelters, one taking care of people who have been forgotten, just left, abandoned, abused, can't take care of themselves. And we show up there and we serve. And then we go to terminal ill kids, right? And give them toys and gifts and make sure that their last days on this earth are ones that are filled with happiness and joy. And then we went to another orphanage where there were women who were trafficked, abused, and sexually assaulted, and showed them what masculinity, loving masculinity is, and showed them what support system is, and listened to their story and helped believe in them, let them know that they weren't alone on this path. So it's a very emotional day, but you're navigating all that with a headache, with potentially diarrhea, with upset stomach. And it's such a powerful lesson of how do you hold the center when there's chaos inside and outside? How do you show up and deliver and do something that's bigger than you? From there, we go to Machu Picchu, which is one of my favorite cities, Aguas Caliente. There's this big river that goes through the valley, and every time I go there, it's like just effortless to think. The best downloads come through, the best ideas, the most gratitude. I feel most me when I'm there. 2 places on the earth that have made me feel that way. One, Aguas Caliente in Peru, city right before Machu Picchu. And second is Miami, believe it or not. Both of those places, as soon as I arrive off the train in Aguas Caliente and off the plane in Miami, it is a stark difference. Like, I'm talking, I feel grounded, I feel comfortable, I feel like this is my home energetically, spiritually. I feel like I was born there. It's weird. And so I've just learned to listen to that and visit those places often, because that's where I feel most connected. So we spend 2 days there, and we eat, we travel, we visit the top of Machu Picchu, set our intentions, take that side in, again, learning the indigenous ways of doing things, take pictures, really set our goals for 2022, and just have epic conversations. And then lastly, we hit up Sacred Valley, which is like the Tuscany in Italy, is like that Sacred Valley of Peru. And this is where you just digest and integrate. We've been moving so fast, different containers, different elevations, different environmental factors, cold, hot, humid. And this is the place where it's supposed to be zen, chill, relax. We paint, we get massages, we meditate, we do sound healing, we just do workshops and learn and connect with each other. And it's so beautiful. And so this go around, the whole thing was really just recognizing where I hold or I attach to things where I shouldn't, and also to double down on my worth in what I charge, my worth of my time, how I view my level of craft, and just continuing to refine how I show up in my life and how I do the things that I do with even more presence, more power, more potency. And coming back from that, I've been able to attract a different type of clientele, higher end clientele. They higher ticket point, more ideas and creativity are starting to flow to me, and my life is vibrating at a very high frequency. The things that would take me out of center before are no longer there, or if they're there, I'm easily breaking through those and realizing the narratives and the stories and the limiting beliefs and the patterns, and just working through that and really holding a new level of standard for what it is to be a leader, a father, a lover, a coach, right? And the more I hold those standards, the more convicted I am, the more conviction I have, the more weight is in the words that I say, not because I'm learning it, because I am it. So it's coming from a different place. And, and that's just another invitation to say, there's a lot of talkers out there who talk but don't do. And when you talk and don't do, when you speak, your words are shallow. When you do and then talk, there's a different frequency. It hits different. Your BS radar does not go off because you sense the truth that's coming from the wisdom. And the wisdom only comes from the action. Knowledge is different than wisdom, and that knowledge can be gained, but wisdom can only be earned. And that you earn it through the action, and you only take action when you know where you're going. And the best action to take is the most present action, and that's getting out of your own way, quieting the mind, turning down the noise, turning up the purpose, turning up the presence, turning up the commitment. And that was my 2-week Peru experience in a nutshell, leveling up on all areas. So since then, ideas of how I want to do my own masterminds this year are coming in. Ideas about a traveling international mastermind that I want to do is coming in. The type of experience that I create from our one-on-one clients is starting to shift and change. How I show up in the gym, how I show up to my qigong and yoga practice, how I view my morning routine. All these things in my life are I'm learning more depth. I'm understanding them at different levels, and I'm also releasing attachment about how it needs to be and how it needs to go, which is ultimately allowing me to flow and not overthink, but really just be and notice and make a change and make a shift. So I hope these stories and this example and this breakdown helps you gather something that can help your 2022 be that much better, right? End of the year always is a time to reflect, and the beginning of the year is always a time to call in something new. But in order to call in something new, you have to enter the unknown, and the challenge is letting go of the known for the unknown. When you can learn to do that, trust that, That's where the magic is. That's where the miracles are. And that's where you find new versions of you. So with that said, 2022, new year. Who knows what this is what it's gonna bring? Who knows if we're going into another shutdown, another quarantine? Who knows what's gonna happen in the markets? Who knows, what environmental things are gonna take place? We can't control any of that. What we can control is what we do, how we show up. So choose how you're gonna do both of those and commit to that daily. And that compounded over time is going to result in some inner conviction that cannot be taken away from you, that no external thing can't affect. And that's how successful people remain successful. They play their game, they stay on their lane, and they continue to do the thing even when external factors are favorable. So thank you again for being that 1%, for being a part of this community, for being you, for trusting me, for listening in on these episodes and sharing this with your friends and family. Obviously, thank you for rating this podcast and leaving your comments. I do read those. I'm very grateful for those. And if you haven't done so already, please head over there and do so. That helps this message get out there even more, and also is good feedback for me. So thank you guys. Share this episode with someone who you think one needs to hear it or just would find this entertaining and helpful. And I will see you guys next time on the Be That 1% podcast. Much love from your host and mindset specialist, James Sillis. Peace.